Hello everyone. Today we're having a chat with Lisa. Could you tell us a little about yourself and where you're from?
My name is Lisa. As you have mentioned, I am 20-something years old. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. I have a business degree and a TEFL certificate, which is what is required to teach English in South Korea. And I'm currently a native English teacher.
How long have you been teaching for?
I've been teaching for about a year now, almost a year.
What inspired you to become an ESL teacher?
I think it was mostly the job scarcity everyone kind of experiences in South Africa. I think I was applying for about 6 to 8 months after I graduated and still could not get anything. And when you go online and you see other people that are going through the same things, that have been job hunting for years, it's so discouraging. My friend brought up the idea to me because she was really considering teaching in South Korea for about 2 years. So I was just like, why don't I try it? Try something new out of the country, leave my comfort zone, and yeah, I don't regret it.
How did you end up teaching in South Korea?
Well, the program that I applied to really offered a hand-holding experience, which kind of put me at ease for me to integrate into the position as well as the society if I have all this help from a government-run program.
And what was the program that you applied through?
The EPIC program, yeah.
What were your initial thoughts and feelings when you first arrived in South Korea?
I was excited, new country, but I was also quite anxious because it just hit that I really have to integrate into the society. I have to teach. I'm here to work, It's not just you're here to just have fun and travel and go to Seoul, of course. So as much as I was excited, I was scared, I was terrified, but I think that's normal when you're starting a new journey, and it's just part of growth, I guess.
Previously, we spoke about orientation. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
We were at orientation for about a week, and that was great because I feel like you were sheltered from what the experience was coming into the country. You had a sense of community, as you mentioned, other teachers that have never done this before, and you're just sitting and you're communicating your fears and what it is that you're anxious about, and you just feel like you're not really alone. Also, I feel like the EPIC program does a really good job in preparing you with doing demo lessons because we were all tasked with doing that. You feel a bit not so apprehensive because you know that you're not going into it alone. Even if you kind of are going into it alone, you have a background to refer to or to help you with the journey that you're about to embark on. And then you leave orientation and it's like, oh my God, this is real. I'm about to start teaching, and like reality really hits you in the face. And everything that we are taught during orientation really does help a lot, especially when you don't have the teaching background.
Could you tell us how you felt going into the workplace?
I was very anxious because I had no background in teaching. I had no experience. I had no work experience at all. I was just so in my head a lot, trying to impress my coworkers, impress my co-teachers with the little experience that I had. The only teaching experience that I had was the demo lesson that we had to do during orientation. And even so, you're teaching adults. So it's like a whole transition from teaching adults that are there with you during orientation to actually teaching the students that don't really have a large understanding of the language. So that was very nerve-wracking. And I remember initially I have the best co-teachers, but they did let me figure it out on my own. And I think it really helped me grow really quickly as a teacher in the classroom. And I do think that the anxiety that I had kind of like pushed me to constantly try to improve, just be the best that I could be and show up.
Could you share some of your most memorable experiences?
When I first arrived, I think it was the second day at my main school. I was left alone with like the second graders. I was told I needed to teach them. Initially, I thought I would be teaching from third grade upwards, but now I'm left with these second graders and they're all staring at me. I did not know what to do. I did not know what to teach them. Bless their hearts, because I think children are so amazing in the sense that they don't really judge you. Whether you mess up or not, they don't see that, which is great. I did not know what to do, and I remember the co-teacher at the time said, this is an after school lesson, so you're on your own. You need to teach this on your own. I was terrified. I didn't even know how I got through it, but I did. And I was better prepared for the next lesson. And I actually do think that I'm glad that he did that, because I don't know, I love teaching the classes by myself, like just being hands-on with everything and all the materials that I bring into the classroom. Yeah.
What resources did you find most helpful while teaching in South Korea?
For sure, Coreshare. Anyone who works in South Korea knows that that is literally the holy grail. Like I mentioned, I didn't have a background in teaching. So whenever I'd ask other teachers that had been teaching here for years, I wanted an actual breakdown as to how a day-to-day classroom, a day-to-day lesson looks like. And they couldn't give it to me. And I would get so frustrated, but I realize now that everyone teaches differently. My classroom may not look the same as the next teacher's, and that is okay. I think even now, if somebody were to come and ask me that same question, I would give them ideas as to how they can teach, but I cannot give you an exact breakdown as to how your classroom will or can look like, because you are your own person. So that's what I really struggled with in the beginning, but I think that's normal initially when you don't know what your teaching style is like or what you're doing exactly. I think Coreshare really, it helped, especially when you're so unorganized for a class, or your classes get moved and you didn't prepare for this class, and you can quickly go in there and find something that can help. And also the demo lesson that we were prepared for during orientation really helped, because it kind of gave you an idea as to what a classroom looks like, what a lesson looks like. Shout out to Epic for that, actually.
This was your first time working a 9-to-5 job. Is it what you expected it to be?
I didn't have expectations, because I went into the experience very open-minded. I don't think you can go into a new country, a new job with certain expectations. It's a bit unfair on yourself as well as
The society.
the society. Exactly. So I think I didn't really have expectations, but there are certain things that till this day I look back on and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
I got through it.
I got through it.
Right.
Like, I didn't think this would come, but wow. Exactly, yeah. I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at what I do, but I'm constantly trying to learn from those who know more. And my co-teachers do give me a lot of advice, and that kind of helped me pave the way into being the best that I could be.
Could you tell us about your commuting experience to and from work in rural South Korea?
You have this idea that when you are going to be commuting to different schools, it could be like an hour at most. But my God, I was so surprised. I think going to my main school, I had to commute for about 2 hours to and from my main school. It took a lot of getting used to, it really did. But I do think it taught me a lot of patience, because believe it or not, actually, now when I'm on a flight, they go by so quickly. It was really tough actually in the beginning, because I felt like I would leave my apartment so early and get back so late. By the time I got back, I only had time to eat and then take a shower and maybe go to bed. So I just felt like my life revolved so much around just work, and it really got to me mentally. I just didn't have time for myself to even just breathe.
How did you occupy yourself while commuting?
Don't know if this is the best advice, but maladaptive daydreaming really does help. And also maybe like recently, I think a good book, maybe. I would just listen to music, but honestly the music just got super redundant after some times. You find things to fill up the time.
I think that's so important, because we're often turning off our mind.
Exactly.
So as rural teachers tend to like just shut down when we're sitting on a bus or sitting on a train. And that actually gives us a lot of time to catch up with ourselves, go into ourselves, like reflect. How was my day? What am I doing? How are my energy levels?
Exactly.
Usually depleted, but
What challenges have you faced being in a foreign country, and how did you overcome them?
When you are a person of color coming into the country, I did have this preconceived notion that I could experience some sort of discrimination because of the color of my skin. But I am fortunate enough that I have met some of the best people in the world that have not experienced that. Obviously, I cannot speak for everyone. I cannot speak for every experience. I know that there are some people that do experience that. It is difficult to navigate. I have not, fortunately enough, experienced that. that, but there are certain things like finding it difficult to get your hair done. You didn't really think about when you were back home. You didn't think of it as being such a big deal. You know, you just go out and you get your hair done and you're back home. But now it's such a hassle in the sense that it's so difficult to find somebody that can do African hair. Or if you do find them, they're in a completely different city. So that's a whole commute to get there. And it's so expensive, you know, so it's like a whole budget and a day that you have to plan out, and it just really gets so tedious. And another thing which is like so minute that you don't really think of when you're home is just shopping for makeup. Obviously, I am not the same color as
the larger population.
Exactly. You know, just finding my foundation shade, that in itself is so difficult. I had to stock up when I visited back home. In case I ran out, I could still have my shade with me. So that also was a bit difficult. And I think initially when I came, I had braids. So I dealt with a lot of touching. A lot of people putting their hands in my braids, and initially I didn't really mind it because I understand that they're curious and it's usually from a place of ignorance, and I am in a rural area, so it's a lot of older people that are very curious about my hair and how I move and maybe where I come from, and I don't mind sharing who I am and my experience, but at times it's like you just want to be invisible and just exist, and it is hard when you are very much different. So there's also that. It's also very lonely being in a foreign country and trying to learn the language. It's not an easy language to learn. I know that it is obviously your responsibility to try and learn the language so you can kind of create community and try to be acquainted as much as you can with your coworkers, and they try as well on their end, but it still gets really lonely and it gets really frustrating trying to communicate with maybe a bus driver. You know, or like, you know, at the supermarket, and you know, it's just like it's not clicking. It really gets to you when you do meet other foreigners that could relate to what you're going through. It's like it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll get along, because you find that maybe they have their own designated groups and that's fine, or they just in a completely different stage of life so they don't really relate to you, or maybe you're just super tired because it's a lot of work just commuting and you just don't have the energy to leave your apartment and try to engage in a lot of like the activities that are planned by the foreign community. So it's really a lot to take into account.
Food was a major challenge for you. Please tell us more.
We all have our comfort foods. I unfortunately cannot cook. I cannot make my own comfort foods. I would say that anything that's remotely close to what I can find at home, like McDonald's, that would be my source of comfort food here. But because you're in like a rural area, it's really difficult to be able to order McDonald's because we just don't have it here. You know this. You would have to just try to be open-minded and just open up your palate to like Korean cuisines and find what you like. Initially, I didn't, but I think towards the end of my contract, I really just started liking Korean food. You know, I would order it in. It would feel really good. Yeah, I feel...
You adapted.
I adapted. I mean, I had no other choice, exactly. Because it's really difficult to find Western food in the rural area. You would have to take a trip to Seoul, which is so far and cost so much money just to get a burger from McDonald's. And it's like, will those fit into my budget? So it's like, you kind of have to make a decision. Which is more important, money or mental health? The cost of living here is pretty high. Ordering in is not that affordable. I remember when I arrived and you had mentioned to me that if I feel like I need to eat something, that I should do it, because you know your body is your asset, so just really take care of it. And that's what I did. At the end of the day, I had this mindset that I'll make the money back, so I would just order in, whether it was wings, fries, whatever it is that I wanted to order in. And then towards the end of my contract, I realized that I actually do need to save money, so I would sit down and I'd make a budget. I had a heart attack looking at the amount of money I spent just on takeout. It was actually terrifying. I had to like find alternatives to be able to feed myself and enjoy the food without necessarily using takeout. Whether it's like little meals from like the CU or latte that are more affordable. That's what I kind of like integrated into like my daily life, and it actually worked out.
Was it easy to maintain a healthy diet?
Definitely not. I mean, I think anybody who has lived on takeout for a certain amount of time, that maybe your body just like gives out and you just feel it in your soul that you just need something healthy, you need vegetables.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't easy, and I kind of had to hold up a mirror to myself and just be like, okay, the food is great, but come on now, I can't keep eating like this. That's not a healthy lifestyle. Especially initially when I thought that I would stay here for longer. I didn't think that you can't live off of just takeout. As much as you do need to fuel your body, it needs to be healthy food.
How did you address your mental health while living and working here?
Is a difficult one because I think just learning what works for you, especially when you're going through something, is a learning curve, you know, for everyone at any age. Initially, I was very anxious coming into the country, mostly because I didn't know what was expected of me. You know, I had an idea, but I didn't know. And I feel like you can never entirely know. I was constantly trying to prove myself to my coworkers and just like want them to like me so much, you know, and that really affected me. If I feel like I'm not getting a positive interaction, I would just take that personally. And I just felt like I've grown so much from that person that I used to be, that not everything is personal, not everything is about you. I also struggled a lot with insomnia because I was always stressing myself, just overthinking about what went wrong, what I could have done and what not. And I just feel like I've learned so much about not controlling things that are just out of your control. And that has helped me a lot with just feeling what I am going through in that moment, whether it's not being able to sleep because I would cry and just be like, why can I not sleep? You know, you just feel like a prisoner in your own body. Just, it's okay. I'm not sleeping at the moment. This will only last in this moment and I will grow from it. I will be able to sleep. It may take time and that is okay. So I think it's important to be patient with yourself and just give yourself grace because you are the only person that can do that.
How did you overcome your insomnia?
I wouldn't say I overcame my insomnia. Initially, I would cry a lot because I went 3 days straight without sleeping. At the time, I had just gotten back from South Africa from visiting my family. So I'm not sure if it was just like a mix of the jet lag and the stress and everything, but it was really affecting me. I had never went through that before. And I just really wanted a quick fix, a quick remedy that would get me to sleep. And I would just be on the phone crying with my mom. I think I even came to you just asking for advice and just nothing worked. And my mom told me that it doesn't matter what I do, I will not be able to sleep and that's fine. She told me just take a sick day. It's okay. Yes, you're not on your deathbed, but you need it because you cannot work like this. You're not sleeping. And I really struggled with taking sick days because I just feel like I didn't want to leave a negative impression on my coworkers and my co-teachers. But I feel like I've learned that your sick days are there for you to take them. If you need them, take them. And I wish I had known this earlier because I would have taken care of myself better. I think I just realized my body needs to learn how to relax. And I wouldn't say I get a full 8 hours of sleep now, but I do get some sleep. And that's what matters. It's about growth and just learning.
Did you go to a doctor to treat your insomnia?
Yeah, of course I did. I didn't know what else to do. So I had to go to the doctor. I did take a sick day and I went to the doctor. And a doctor that treats the physical body does not know how to treat the mind. And that is so unfortunate because they just kept giving me antidepressants and sleeping pills, which I would take. And I feel like they just made the situation worse in the sense that I would be able to sleep, but I would wake up groggy and tired. I wouldn't be able to do my work. And I feel like that just defeated the whole purpose because I was trying to sleep so I don't get tired. I really struggled with that. And I just felt like I need to put the pills away and let my body just kind of go through it and figure it out. And it did. I started taking really long walks by the river at night after work. Initially, I had this mindset like if I take these long walks, I'm gonna get home really late, I'm gonna sleep late. But then it's like I'm not sleeping, so it makes no difference. So I would take the long walks. By the time I got home, I was really beat, so tired. Took my shower and that really knocked me out. You could say it was like a more natural sleeping pill. But I know everyone's different, so we all have different things that work for us. Like the teas for me, they just don't work. unfortunately. I think more physical activity really helped me, you know, it helped the situation. Yeah.
How did communicating with your loved ones back home assist your mental health?
Community is very important in South Korea, whether you have them close by or in a different country. So shout out to my mom. She was really putting up with a lot. We would speak on the phone for hours on end, and she would listen to me go on and on and on and on. I think really the phone calls back home to my mom or my friends really did help me just feel like I'm not alone, just have someone to speak to, because I think we get so isolated in our day-to-day. You know, you go to work, you come back, and you just want to be cooped up in your apartment because you're tired and you're exhausted. It's easy to go insane if it's just you alone with your thoughts. So when you have somebody to speak to, whether it's on the phone or who is there, it kind of just helps you just take off the load a bit and just breathe. You know?
Seriously, shout out to your mom. Shout out to mine too. The things that they deal with.
Oh my God.
I think our moms really, they constantly save us from
my
ourselves.
God. Yeah, listening to our problems.
Was there anything that positively influenced your mental health?
Maybe the fulfillment that I got from the growth I would experience in the classroom as a teacher, because I mentioned initially that I was always so anxious trying to prove to my coworkers that I could do the job, I guess, and that made me so stressed, and it really made me beat myself up. And I think when I realized that everything is like a learning curve, you can never be 100% perfect, and every day I am learning. I'm learning a lot from my coworkers, I'm learning a lot from my co-teachers that like give me a lot of input that I integrated into my lessons. That's how you learn, and that's how you get better. And I think I felt more relaxed within myself, and I wasn't as anxious, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. It still does. So that really helped with my mental health, and just like having patience with myself. Like, I will get it, you know, you are learning, and that's fine.
What cultural differences have you encountered, and how did you navigate them?
You have to be very mindful of the hierarchy culture when coming into South Korea, because it's important. You cannot forget it. When you are going through something and you need help, you can't speak to anybody that is above your co-teacher. It's always about speaking to your co-teacher. You always have to take it to your co-teacher. And even so, you're constantly trying to cultivate a healthy relationship with your co-teachers and your other co-workers. So you don't want to unintentionally undermine them or disregard them and speak to somebody like their senior, you know, because you don't really know what kind of effects that could have. And also, I think the greeting as well. When I came into the country, I realized, okay, you have to bow when you're greeting, and I thought you had to bow to everyone. So when my students would bow to me, you know, I'm gonna say I'd bow back. Then I realized that's not how it's done. You bow to somebody who's older than you. Okay, so don't bow to the students, bow to the co-workers. And I think majority of my co-workers are older than me. I always try to bow, but I know they try to make me feel comfortable, so they don't really bow to me, and they'll be like, hi, and I'm like, okay, so do I say, yeah, do I say hi, do I bow, like what is it, you know?
I also experienced that's kind of like lost in translation. Like, I want to cater to you and you want to cater to me. Like, we're just gonna be good to each other right now. Like,
what do you wish you knew before starting this journey?
I'm grateful that the girl that came into this journey had no expectations. But I also think the most important thing is that I wish that I wasn't so hard on myself, you know, and I was patient with myself, because you can't get it right the first time, you know, you will make mistakes, and that's how you learn. So I just wish I wasn't so in on my head, and I would just listen more, for sure. And I wasn't so concerned with getting people to like me, because I was so concerned with getting my co-teachers to like me and whatnot. And the more you realize that at the end of the day, that is a workspace. You're at work and it's a business and no one is there to like you or baby you. It makes it easier, because sometimes you find that the co-teachers may not be having a good day and they may take it out on you. It's not personal. That's okay. They're human. They're going through whatever it is that they're going through, and you also have bad days. It's normal. I would just wish I wasn't so
in
my head with getting people to like me. Like, why won't they like me? Like, what did I do wrong? It's just not about you, and that's fine.
What have you learned about yourself through this experience?
That when you are younger, you put yourself in a box because you're constantly mindful about who you are and how you navigate, because you're trying to get everyone to like you. So I was very insecure physically, emotionally, mentally. I was so much of a people pleaser, and I still am. I'm still learning to grow from that mindset. I was just more concerned with getting people to like me, more so that it would be to the demise of my mental health. I've learned that, like I mentioned, it's okay not to take everything personally, and not everything is about you, regardless of whether or not you mess up. Like, it's human. We all mess up. I think just doing the whole 9-to-5 shebang and paying bills, I just started feeling like an actual adult. I feel like I've grown so much from the girl that I was that came here, and I think that's great. I think life is a learning curve. And
how did that jump feel for you from like living with your parents, being in South Africa, having a content home? You jump from that and you come here, you're totally by yourself. Then you have to start paying bills, pitching up to work on time, catching the right buses or the right trains, and like literally doing it all by yourself. Like nobody is holding your hand really. You have support, but no one's holding your hand through it. How did that jump feel for you?
I think when you're thinking of the idea of it, as we do when we're young, we kind of do romanticize certain things. I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait to live by myself. When I eventually did get to that point, when I was into the country, that's when I realized, like, when I got my first paycheck, actually, that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, I am an actual working adult that pays bills and has to go to work. And it was just such a mind-altering experience, because I just felt like an imposter in my own body, because I still felt like a child. Just felt like I was pretending. Now I feel like at the point where I am, because I've done it for quite some time now, it feels real. I am an adult, this is what I do. But initially, I just felt like I'm not even supposed to be here. More like an imposter syndrome, I guess. I also think it really hit when I was in the classroom. I realized that should anything go wrong, I cannot call an adult, because I am the adult in the classroom. It's like, whoa, I don't even know what to do, It's definitely something you need to get used to. And I wouldn't say I'm 100% used to it, but I am getting there.
If you could give one piece of advice to new ESL teachers, what would it be?
If you are going to embark on this journey, have an open mind, really enjoy it, really try to integrate into the society, the customs, because I don't think you will enjoy it entirely if you restrict yourself in the kind of preconceived notion that you choose to have. And I also think just give yourself time and patience, because everything is a learning curve. And it is difficult being a foreigner in a new country, and that is okay. And also try to build community, whether it's one friend or two that you can speak to. That really makes a difference. And you'll never know unless you actually give it a shot. It's scary and it's daunting, like every other experience, but that's how you learn.
It's so wise of you to say that. You're very young, and I remember when I first met you, you were like this little puppy in the great big world, and you were very lost, and you were very like trying to grasp everything, trying to take it all in, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I think you shouldered a lot during that first 2 or 3 months. It was like, what am I supposed to take in? What am I supposed to release? How do I do all of this? You touched on being kind to yourself and having patience. We often forget that having patience means waiting. It's a waiting game. something happens and we want to fix that problem immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to fix it immediately. And we were talking about this and we said, hey, you know, something happens and it's such a huge crisis for like the whole 12 hours of your day that you are at
in
work.
that moment. Yeah. But then like the next week and you're like, comes and you're like, wait, what? That actually happened? Exactly, yeah. And I think it's very easy to just get lost in whatever it is that you're going through. But chaos happens every now and again, and it feels like the end of the world, but I promise you, the sun will still rise. It's not the end of the world, okay? Take it as it comes. And like you mentioned initially, like the smallest things would like freak me out and keep me up the whole night. But now I just take it as it is, and it's like, okay, I messed up. I'll deal with the repercussions later.
What are your future plans and goals?
I like teaching, so I definitely want to keep doing that. I have recently gotten a job in Poland. I will be teaching in Poland for some time, hopefully a couple of years. I want to keep growing in this career. I want to learn more. I want a position where I can acquire more responsibility, whether that is assessing or exams, you know, creating exams and tests and the marking and whatnot, and not just being a conversational person in the classroom. I want to grow as a teacher, as an educator, hopefully just get more degrees.
I actually really admire you for taking the next step in your journey. Going to Poland it's not that it's unheard of, but not many of us as ESL teachers in Asia tend to sway towards Europe.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about that?
I was having a discussion with my mom, and when I applied for the job, I still remember the day I applied, I didn't think I would get it. It's quite difficult to get a job in Europe, I feel, especially a teaching job, an English teaching job in Europe. Usually you get like volunteer programs and this and that. So I didn't think I would get it. I just felt like, you know, there are other candidates with more experience that have more to offer. So I was like, let me just do it. And then I got, you know, shortlisted for an interview, and I was still like, no, I'm not going to get it. So I went through the whole process up until the demo lesson. And I remember when I was told by the school that I had to do a demo lesson, I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. I was like, what? I was terrified. Up until I got there, it was over Zoom with the actual students. And I was still nervous, but I still felt a bit more comfortable than I would have been had I not taught for almost a year in South Korea. So I learned so much in South Korea, and I will forever be grateful for the experience that I've had here, because I grew so much, and I saw that during the demo lesson because I was so comfortable with the students, the way I interacted with them. When I was told that I got the job, I was really excited, and I just still couldn't believe that this girl from Johannesburg, South Africa, was able to get the job in Poland. Yeah, it was a very surreal experience for me. And I just remember talking to my mom and being like, I can't believe I did that. And my mom was like, I always believed in you. Always. It's amazing, you know, to just feel like I could do that.
Could you share a funny or interesting experience you've had here?
I wouldn't say this is funny, but I did have an experience where I left school earlier because my classes were finished and I took the wrong train. I ended up in literally the middle of nowhere because I realized that I was on the wrong train. I think 2 minutes into the ride, I had to get off on the next stop, but the train went on for so long. I had to get off at the first stop, which was in the middle of nowhere. Literally, the station is so small and there is no one working at the station. So I'm just stranded there by myself. My phone's about to die.
Oh no.
And I am starving. You know, I'm checking on Naver to see if there are any buses nearby that I could take back, maybe to the school or maybe back home. I cannot find any because it's literally the middle of nowhere. I try to call a Kakao taxi. No taxis are coming. No taxis are accepting the call. But I remembered that a while ago, I did meet a very nice taxi driver who gave me his card to contact him in case I needed, you know, any help. So I sent him a message. I translated the message and I sent it to him because he cannot speak English. and he calls me screaming to me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I cannot understand. Like, I can't understand. He hangs up the phone, and I text him again saying, I'm sorry, I cannot understand. Please send a text message so I can like translate it. He calls again, screaming, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna be stuck here forever because this is going nowhere. He does not understand what I'm saying. I don't understand what he's saying.
And no one is there.
And no one is there to help. But like, yeah, I'm just sitting there for 20 minutes talking to my mom on the phone. I'm like, my phone's about to die, so I don't know what else to do. I'll just have to wait for the next train. But the next train is coming in like 4 hours. And at this point, it's hot because that train station is so tiny and it's just so hot. But I had no other choice. And I think 15 to 20 minutes later, he's like outside the train station. I'm like, yay.
The taxi driver.
Yeah, the taxi driver. I'm like, oh my God, he's a lifesaver. And he just comes in, gets my bag, and we go. And I tell him, I can only give you 50. Actually, I mentioned that in the text message that I can only give you about 50,000 won, if that is okay. Because I know that taxis usually in the rural area are quite expensive. Yeah. He's like, that is okay. And he drives me, and I ask him to drop me off by the bus terminal so that the taxi ride isn't so expensive and I could quickly catch the bus that was about to leave in about 15 minutes. He said that is okay. He proceeds to drive. When we get close to the bus terminal, he drives past the bus terminal. I prompt him and say, listen, the bus is leaving in 5 minutes. Could you please go back? He tells me that he needs to get gas. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that has to do with me. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just have to wait for the next bus, which will come in about 30 minutes. After he gets gas, we drive out of the gas station. He drives past the gas station, and I am like, okay, I guess he's not dropping me off at the bus terminal. So I tell him, please drop me off at the train station at least.
Yeah.
You know, which is close to my apartment. He said he'll do that. So we get near the train station. He drives past the train station. He tells me that he'll drop me off at my apartment. I'm like, okay, this is going to be really expensive, but I guess what's done is done. It's okay, I'll just pay him what I have to pay him. As we're driving closer to my apartment, he asks me, I wonder what you live. He's using my phone to speak
Korean.
Yeah, Papago app.
Yeah.
So he asked me, I wonder, because, you know, as we were driving, he was asking me questions about, oh, where do you live? Like, you know, where are you from? How many
generally, they try to communicate with us in some shape or form.
Basically, you know, the normal questions.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have? Things like that. And I answered him. So as we're getting closer to the apartment, he asked me, like, I just wonder how you live. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't think I know what that means. I don't think I'm sure what he's referring to. So I asked like, wait, what? I'm sorry. He asked again, I wonder how you live. And I just didn't answer because I didn't know how to answer that question. He asked again, and at this point we had arrived at my apartment building. He mentions that he thinks the apartment building is quite nice. Then he asked me if he could come and look inside. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, like, why? You know, I tried to kind of divert the conversation, and I asked him, so how much will it be? He doesn't answer the question. He proceeds to keep talking about the apartment building. And I keep asking the question, how much is
the taxi ride?
And then he answers me finally and tells me it's about 70,000 won. But because it's so expensive, I don't have to pay him. And at that point, I'm like, okay.
Red flag.
Exactly. Like, all like the alarms are going off. I'm like, okay. So I get out of the car. He gets out of the car with me. I take my umbrella because my umbrella was in the back seat.
Oh my gosh.
He walks me to the door.
No.
And he's just standing there, I think, waiting for me to put in the pass key, you know, to get inside. But I'm just waiting because I just didn't want to put it in while he was there because I just didn't feel comfortable. Then he asked me what the number. Which is your
box.
Yeah, which is my box, which is my apartment number. So I lie to him and tell him a completely different number. I think he could tell that I was uncomfortable, so he tells me that he'll come back and show me around when he has the time. So I'm like, okay.
Were you not freaking out?
I was freaking out, but what else could I do?
Oh my gosh.
He leaves and I'm watching him leave. As soon as he gets in his car, I put in the pass key so quickly and run inside, turn back to look at the door to see if it shuts, and go back up to my apartment and tell my mom the whole story. So yeah.
We have to report to our mom.
Exactly. I'm like, is this weird? Am I overthinking it? weird.
No,
what's happening.
100%. It's weird. It's
Yeah.
so weird. I can't believe that.
I'm still like trying to wrap my head around what really happened.
Yeah.
Because he's like an older man. Like he was telling me about his wife. So I'm just like, am I reading too much into it?
No,
Like,
I think
what
it's
is
I
it?
think it's odd. I think that type of experience is like
Yeah.
definitely something that stands out.
No, exactly. So that was honestly the weirdest experience I ever had in Korea. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Do you have any final thoughts or messages for our viewers?
From what I've learned from my experience, just try to get out of your comfort zone and try something different, whether it is teaching in a different country or just going out of like whatever it is, the career that you're in and you want to venture on to new things, different things. It's okay to do it even if you fail. You know, that's how you learn. That's how you grow. Even if you don't like it, that's okay. At least you know you don't like it. You'll never know until you try. Also, be kind to yourself. Yeah.
That's an important one.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a very important one. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. I feel like I've known so many versions of you. And every time
You
we
really
speak,
have?
yeah. Every time we speak, and Lisa and I have known each other since she got here, and I think I was one of the first friends that she made here. And I can assure you guys, the little girl who came in is not the little girl that's leaving. She's grown up. You've taken it all in stride, and I'm super proud of you. I know your mom is. I know your family is. So good luck on your journey, and thank you for sharing your experience today.
Thank you for having me.